Episode 86. What's up, y'all? Umbrella insurance helping you make money? Disability insurance helping you make money? Cultivating contentment? What is this wacky dude Corey talking about? It was different. It was a different financial advisory conversation than I'm used to having. I'm used to talking about stocks, bonds, where to invest, how much to invest, what age you should be at investing when. No, the dude is like, yo, none of that stuff matters as much as you being happy and using money to build your contentment. And yo, me and John admitted we're struggling with contentment. So Corey broke it down for us and explained, what his approach is, how they at Sound Financial Group are different than your average broker at Morgan Stanley, and how, they actually charge a design fee to help you design your financial life, as opposed to taking 1% of commissions each year. So really interesting stuff we talked about. You definitely got to listen to this dude. I recommend you hit this dude up and do one of his 15-minute free phone calls. I think people will benefit from this guy. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's thought about this stuff in depth. He writes a lot of papers. He writes on his blog. Smart dude. I like Corey a lot. Enjoy this episode, y'all. Peace.
The impeachment, because of Christmas, I kind of got distracted, but everyone's talking about this. No one's talking about, like, has Pelosi sent her articles to the Senate? Like, is the whole impeachment process actually going on? Because that was getting slowed down.
Exactly. I believe it's continuing to move forward, but it feels like molasses, to be honest with you. And I mean, the truth is, I don't think it's not going to go anywhere in the Senate.
Right.
I think the House did it to try and win the White House in 2020. They wanted to drag Trump's name through the mud with people who are on the fence with Trump. And honestly, I think it worked. Like, they just brought out all this shit with Trump. And I think him being in the news for like 90 days straight, or whatever it was, 60 days, 70 days straight, had an impact on a lot of people, I think. But now this could reverse a lot of that.
Isn't it so crazy the way politics has become, that it's both sides really are really about that, like, middle 10% and shifting them. It's not about their base it's about just shifting this small group of people. And I feel like they're not doing anything but going after their own political ambitions.
Totally. Base is only at risk over decades, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Where, like, I used to be a Republican, and like that takes time. You gotta you lose people over time. Not in an election. You don't lose. I don't think you can. It's harder to lose a base, in my opinion, in an election.
Yeah.
You lose a base over a decade. You're looking at me all weird, John. You know what I mean by that?
I was just trying to absorb all of it.
Yeah, it's a lot, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, dude. Sometimes I fucking spew out so much shit out of this pie hole that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Why do you think that is, John? Do you have an opinion on me? You've gotten to know me pretty well.
I don't know. I don't know what to think of you anymore.
I feel the same way about myself. I really don't know what to think of me anymore.
Yeah.
Do you think this whole shtick I'm putting up for Corey is good right now?
I think it's working.
It's working. He believes me.
Yeah.
So when I leave,
he doesn't know you.
He doesn't know anything?
Yeah, I think
he's buying it.
I think your secret's safe.
Yeah, I know.
you're like being extra personable. Like when I leave, you're just
that
kind of like
fucking guy.
Yeah, fuck Corey.
Yeah, so I don't know what I'm saying. Wait, what were we talking
politics,
about?
the bases.
We're talking about Trump being a war president.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm saying, man.
You know, do you know The West Wing? You ever watch that show?
I know it. I don't think I ever watched an episode of it.
So until 2017, I had not watched a single episode, and it ended in like 2004 or 5, 6, something like that. But it's classic politics kind of show. And what's crazy is, so we're almost in the last season now, and like 2 years ago, there were things that could have been pulled straight out of the current headlines.
You're crazy.
I
dude.
just watched an episode where President Bartlett, he mediates the Israeli-Palestinian treaty over Jerusalem and all these things. And now we're in Iran and there's bombing, and he just had to think about, they just attacked some of our people. Am I going to attack them or not? Like same shit over and over and over again.
House of Cards. Have you watched that?
Yeah.
It feels like it's being pulled out of the same headlines.
Yep.
Sometimes I think, like, was Trump watching this and now he's doing it, you know? So, yeah, I was talking about bases and bases not changing over election cycles. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. But anyway, that's what I believe. I'm probably totally wrong. But this made me think of, so when I was doing homework on you, Corey, I
Oh.
saw your most recent podcast was about refuting, or basically you asked a question.
Yeah.
Is it true that if an investor buys stocks before an election cycle, so like this year,
Right.
and then sells them after the election results come in, will that person make money each time every 4 years? And you pointed out that a researcher at Pepperdine University
That's right.
did some work. Hold on a second. Allie, do you need me? Okay. Cool. That was the Cedars front of house manager.
Oh,
Man,
that's someone you pay attention to when they come.
Yeah,
around.
she's my boss.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way.
Totally.
I'm not her boss. And man, she's so committed and loyal. And she just had a baby, God bless her. And she's like a mama bear type of person, in my opinion. Like she like cares a lot and loves her children. And so I feel like she kind of brings that attitude to the restaurant. You know, like,
Yeah.
who's messing with my restaurant? And I'm like, that's my girl.
I got to start back to the beginning. Your dad, bless him, like almost a year now. You've been running this, like you didn't have to keep running this place. You could have said, oh, I don't want to do that. But now like you are, and all these people still have jobs. They like, this is really cool. This is entrepreneurs. This is the part of the economy that I love so much. Like, this is why we have your business, your wealth, because like, that's you.
You're
That's
kind of
right?
seeing it.
Yeah.
For what you do, you're in the midst of it, right? Yeah. So thank you for acknowledging that. And that's cool, man. I try and remember that because it gets really tough and really stressful.
Mhm.
But I try and remember, like, oh shit, there's something going on here that's really beneficial to
Bigger
20
than
human
you.
beings. 20,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Truth be told, the business is not earning a profit right now. And when I came in, I'm like, I should consider closing this down because there's a lot of liability. I don't want someone to get sick and there's a
Right.
big lawsuit. I don't want employees to have some sort of beef with each other or harassment or something. That's a huge lawsuit. And I was like, if the business is not making money, we should just close because that doesn't make it. And I'm like, well, I guess it could make a profit if I were to roll up my sleeves, and that's kind of what I decided to do ultimately. So
Taking a big swing with the menu.
taking a bit exactly.
I love it.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm gonna kind of like put my faith in a higher power and just see where it takes me with this adventure. That's what it feels like, is an adventure, and it's fun and it's stressful. So
election cycles.
election cycle. So so
Yeah.
you guys had this podcast where you're like, is this academic guy at Pepperdine really right? Because he proved using academic theories and using data, he proved that a person would make money the last several decades if they bought before the presidential election and then sold after.
Right. Sometime, I forget what he said exactly about, like sometime before and then after the election. And our point wasn't to make him wrong or come down on him for doing the work that he was doing. But we saw it and we said, gosh, someone's going to read this and think this is a thing that I need to go do. But we did some testing and we just said, well, he tested every cycle back to, I think, the 40s. Like, start then, move to the last presidential election. If you just bought the S&P 500, you'd actually have done better.
Okay, so you were saying about the West Wing, it almost seems like whatever was happening 15 years ago in the show, as you watch the news cycle, it's almost like, holy shit, is this happening again? How is this happening?
2017, we were watching the first couple seasons, and it was like several episodes were in the news that week in the current news. And then just these past couple of weeks, we've been in the later seasons, and President Bartlett mediated the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and created a whole thing at Camp David. But at the same time, even before that happened, the U.S. had been attacked somewhere overseas, like we've been talking about in the news, and he had to decide, what am I going to do? Am I going to respond with force? Everyone was telling him to attack, and he didn't. And I can't imagine what that decision would be like what Trump had to do to say, I'm going to kill a person. Now, people who don't like him a lot would say, oh, well, he doesn't care. But I think he's a human being. Like that's gotta weigh on someone to make that choice.
It may weigh unconsciously on a person.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't know the impact on our conscious
Right.
of just decisions we've made. Like if I get in a fight with someone or I say something rude to my wife or something, that has an impact on me. And I may not want to admit it, but if I'm feeling shitty that day, it's probably because of what I said to her. But yeah, I do think a lot of his actions and choices have unconscious impacts on his own self.
Sure.
So that's a self-awareness piece. But yeah, man.
And then with West Wing, it's like it's just happening
Same with
over
House
and
of
over
Cards.
again. House of Cards.
Same thing. Yeah. So
Yes.
I Kevin Spacey, and I'm like, holy shit. Was Trump watching Kevin Spacey? And now
like,
I should just do that, That's what I think sometimes. Isn't that crazy that I think that? But I think it's true sometimes. All right, moving on to this other point. We're in an election year. So I was checking you out, doing some homework on you, and you had a cool podcast saying...
Did you hear that, John? He's checking me out.
Oh,
I could tell, but now
he flirts
said it for the record.
He flirts with all the guests.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
male or female.
Yeah. Be careful what he puts in your tea.
Hermaphrodites.
Yeah. You might think it's honey.
He
but
did bring
it's
the
something
water.
else. It's Spanish fly.
Is what?
Spanish fly.
So what's Spanish fly?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's like some aphrodisiac that's like some fake.
Like a date rape drug?
Yeah. It's supposed to like make somebody like super horny, but it's just it's just fake.
Have you heard of Yohimbe?
Yohimbe? What's Yohimbe?
I think it's kind of like Spanish fly, but the African version.
Mm.
The Africanized Spanish fly.
Yeah, African fly.
Yeah.
No, it is something I've taken before, and it's supposed to make you more, quote unquote, like give a man more virility and more manliness. And let me tell you,
If someone needed help with something like that, I
which
guess
of
that's
course I
something they
don't,
could take.
right? No, but hell no, I took it. I got this advice from a dear friend named Ramon Streeter, who was the former defensive end for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh.
Yeah, I worked at JP Morgan with him. And so he's like, yeah, I take some of the stuff. I was taking it, when I was in the NFL because it doesn't, it's not a prohibited substance.
Oh, he has to watch out for that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
right.
They're big on that shit. And I'm like, really? So I went and bought it. And forgive me for being so, what's the word?
Graphic?
Graphic. I had
Gratuitous?
erections and extremely
For days.
powerful for once.
All right.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, I'm way more of a man now than I ever was. And
And your wife was like, whatever you're taking, stop.
I was not married at
Please.
that
Okay.
time.
Just you alone in your apartment, just
Taking
with a
your
rock
Himbe?
hard
Yeah.
dick. Just not jacking
John
off.
likes that image.
Just not jacking
I'm not
off.
going to do it. I'm not going to do
You're
it.
just sitting on your couch with your arms behind your head, like, man, it feels good to be alive.
This is way better than being married.
Watching Cartoon Network.
Rick and Morty while I'm having a big hard on. No idea. I'm. You know what? I'm not on my game. I have no idea where I go on these tangents. I usually find my tangents. I'm usually able to find like what I was talking about. Yohimbe, Jacksonville Jaguars, Ramon Streeter. No idea where I got. So let's just go back to
Let's
election
just go
cycle.
back to election cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So you guys did a podcast.
Yeah, we found an article. My
I don't
partner
remember
Paul
how, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. Found this article out
yeah.
of Pepperdine.
Yes.
And the fella, he did some research. He said, I wonder if there's a pattern. And he analyzed the stock market returns and said, okay, if you bought right, early in the election cycle and sold after the election, you'd have some good results.
So buy before the election.
Yeah.
President gets elected. Sell right after.
Sell sometime after.
So he's trying to figure out. He's trying to figure out a way.
Yeah.
The day after. He's trying to game the system, trying to time the market.
Yeah.
Which I always talk shit about. I'm like, yo, I tried that. I did it. I don't think it works. You got to be glued to the screens and give your whole life to that to make that work.
Well, here's the problem. Even if it was a theory that worked, like there are things out there that are real phenomenon that you can measure and that's happening in the market, but you can't profit from trying to exploit them.
What stops you from profiting?
Well, so maybe the cost. So like here's one, momentum investing. There's some books out there that say, okay, if you see a stock going up, it's going to have momentum. So buy it and it'll keep going for a while and then you can sell it once it starts to slow down.
Like a hot slot machine.
Like a hot slot, right? Like
It's
a hot
starting to
slot
get hot.
machine.
Let me put some more. Keep playing this.
Yeah.
one.
So there is some academic evidence, like studies have happened that show that this is true. this is repeatable over time. It tends to happen, but it's a shorter lived phenomenon. Like you're turning your portfolio over a couple, 3 times a year. Like it might be only like 3 months or so that it really, really works. So then there's trading costs that are coming in. And those trading costs eat away at your profit.
Yep.
So you literally could lose by winning with this strategy. You could
lose by winning, right?
Yeah, you could see your portfolio average rate of return, or whatever way you calculate it, going up, but you're not making a profit
because your profits are being eaten away by the trading expenses.
Right.
Okay, and that's true. Do you think that might have been true for this guy's report? So this guy proved in his report, hey, you will make money doing this. But
the question that we asked, because this wasn't about making him wrong or refuting him. It was just saying his goal is to find a pattern. He's doing an academic exercise. Our job is to help clients find things that they could put in place that are actually going to make a difference in their life. And we thought people are going to read this and then go try doing it. So we said, well, how, compared to what? He said you're going to get good returns, but we said, well, what if you just, kept buying the S&P 500? Like you bought some every time you had more money, you just kept buying that.
Maybe like every year,
and you do better.
And your results
over his
showed,
same timeline.
Yeah, from 1950 to 2000, whatever, 19, in those 70 years, you actually did better by just buying the S&P and holding on.
S&P 500 and holding on. So,
well, damn.
So but he's still right. Oh, and in the article he said, for the sake of simplicity, we're going to ignore taxes and fees. Well, I don't know what the fees would have been. If they were managing it all themselves, then maybe there were no advisor fees, but there are always some kind of fees inside of mutual funds, whatever you're buying. And then capital gains taxes. Right now, they're 15 or 20% of the profit that you have, but they've been in upwards of the 50% range over that time period that he was looking at. So that actually erodes the returns even more. So I don't even know if it's actually that profitable. We didn't go test all the tax rates and find
each year, or each election cycle. Yes, right.
So the point was not that he was wrong; he was right. But if someone's looking for a strategy to put in place to help their portfolio grow, they've got better options.
I like this refuting that you did. That's pretty cool. You guys are doing some good work at Sound Financial Group. That's some sound refuting you got going on. So actually, on that note, let's switch over to talking about you, Corey, and the company, right? So
we're going to start recording now? Is that
the whole thing begins right now.
Okay, great. Perfect.
Welcome, everyone, to Business News and Other Shit.
So how long have you been president of Sound Financial Group?
President for, I think, 3 years.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So Paul and I met Paul, and he was already running Sound Financial Group, and I ended up joining him. And we were working inside of a larger financial institution under what we can call a franchise agreement.
Oh.
It's not perfect, but kind of like if you were going to start a restaurant with a big franchisor, they're supplying some back-end support, some model,
opening up a Chili's or something like that, right?
Yeah. Right, a McDonald's, whatever.
White Castle. I wouldn't
Ooh.
mind running a White Castle.
Yeah, that'd be a little White Castle. I live not that far from one, and I haven't been to it since I've moved to Chicago.
Really?
Yeah.
You need to get you some. They have Impossible Burger at White Castle now.
They do. Which again, if it tastes good, I don't care.
Right.
So I became president in 2017. In 2016, we had a surprise move where that franchise agreement was ended.
Huh.
Not in a very unexpected way for us.
Huh.
And we kind of call it one of the best bad things that happened to us because, well, gosh, we wouldn't be having this model where we had north of 30 advisors at that time under that model. And thankfully, they're all running their own things. So they're all doing, we kind of left. They didn't get canned and canceled and all that. Mm-hmm. So now we have a much smaller team, but we're focused on our clients and working directly with them versus helping other people build their businesses, other advisors build theirs. And so we get to work with all of our clients online. I get to live in Chicago with my wife and move here from Seattle to help her, support her in her dreams. Paul gets to go with his family in an RV for a year starting in June to support their dreams.
That's so cool.
We just we have a kind of life that we wouldn't have expected to have and certainly wouldn't have been moving towards if we had been in the same path that we were on, but it was interrupted for us.
Yeah.
And I think now we're all the better for it.
That's great, dude. And okay, so technically what you guys do is you help clients manage their money. You are a financial advisor.
It's part of what we do.
You give advice on financial matters, especially them investing their money. Is that right? And and what do you do that's different than run of the mill financial advisor? Right now, for example, I'm with Morgan Stanley. I have a financial advisor there, and I've been reviewing that whole relationship and figuring out, like, is this what I want? So like, how are you guys different?
So when you say manage their money, most people are going to think of creating an investment account, which is part of it. But managing your money starts with, like, the second that it lands in your bank account. What do you do with it from there? So cash flow, is the right amount of cash going to the right place? Are we setting the right amount aside for the future to have the results that we want in the end? Are we doing that with the most tax efficiency? So there's all kinds of things that happen before we get to how much stocks and bonds should we have. So I think a lot of people think that's 90% of what advisors do. And that comes a little bit later in our process. And I think it's probably 20% of what we do. So the metaphor I like to use is of an architecture firm. So you're going to pay an architect to create a blueprint for your house. And they're going to have all kinds of questions for you about, like, what does this home need to do to support your life? Like, what kind of lifestyle do you want to have?
Do you need a home office?
Do you need a home office?
Do you need an area
Which
for the
way
dog?
Do you want to face so that the sun will come in over here? Lots of questions you wouldn't have even thought to ask to create the house you want, and that's why they're the architect and the specialist. And so you pay them whatever you pay them.
Their architecture
$40,000, whatever that is. It's not cheap.
No.
And then they give you a blueprint. You own that blueprint, and if you're really handy with a hammer, you could go build that house yourself.
True.
If you have a really good friend that you trust, you want to build it for you, just hand them the plans and they go do it.
True.
And then many architecture firms are design build firms where you can just walk down the hall to the in-house contractor, take it from the architect to the contractor and say, build it, and just seamless kind of one-stop shop.
Right.
So that's who we are.
Both the architect and the contractor?
We can serve as both, although we don't have to. So most clients, an advisor is only going to get paid in a very limited amount of ways, and it usually relates to some kind of product, whether that's insurance or investments or a trust or some kind of strategy. It's doing one specific thing is the thing that gets the advisor paid. They may talk about all kinds of other things, but it really comes down to that one specific thing paying them. Well, we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners who want to pay for the services that they get and know what they're getting. And we think it's a pretty cool model too. So most of our clients start by writing us a check on the front end, a consulting fee, if you will, to go through our design process to get that blueprint.
What's the word? Not antithetical. Not that's just it's so
Refreshing.
against the grain.
Yeah, against the grain
of financial advisory.
Yeah,
right. The 1% fee on assets. If you got $100,000, you're paying $1,000 each year. You got $1 million, you're paying $10,000 a year in fees. You're saying no, we don't. That's not how we operate in the beginning. You can just pay us a design fee to design your financial life with your goals in mind.
So we get to work with a lot wider range of people that way because, like you mentioned, Morgan Stanley. I don't like to name names, but like my impression there is
tell me how they're screwing me.
Like, well, they'll have a certain goal depending on who the advisor is. They might say, I'm not going to talk to anybody unless they already have $1 million for me to roll over. But
of course, right.
A doctor that's fresh out of their training has a good income.
Right.
They're going to get to that point.
Right.
But Morgan Stanley might not give them the time of day.
Right.
So I've always thought if I can help that doctor, I'm going to go slowly because this is important. If I can help that doctor get to the point that Morgan Stanley would give them the time of day a couple years earlier than they would have on their own, and they'll never leave me for Morgan Stanley.
Right, because you set them up early on.
Right.
And so now, okay, to whatever extent you're willing to share, what would that doctor pay for a design fee with your company? So
I think our median average is about a $5,000 fee for clients. Now, the range is somewhere about $2,000 to $10,000.
Okay. Does it
depending
depend
on
on
a lot of things, the complexity. Like if it's a
how much
business,
effort?
they got lots of employees, lots of other things. We're talking about their 401ks. We're talking about these. We're going to have to go back and forth with an attorney on estate planning issues.
Gotcha.
Then the fee's going to be higher because it's our
A
time.
lot more effort, right?
And the client, like we realized, our clients want to know that we're getting paid for our time, because if we're not getting paid for our time, they know we have to get paid somehow, and they're wondering where it's coming out of somewhere else.
Right.
And so, but doctors, especially residents, people who are just starting their training, like
Newbies,
we have some very favorable scholarship type programs, because my wife is going through that right now, and it's a really important demographic for me. They don't have a lot of time. They need a lot of help, and we can make a big difference in a short amount of time. So any doctor out there, especially, I mean, anybody, even if they're not sure they can afford a fee, like most of our clients, the income range that they're in is about 300,000 to 2 million. Like that's the typical incomes that we work in.
Yep.
So people don't need to have huge amounts of assets. It's income ranges that we usually use as a starting point, because we want to help them get to those points where they have large accounts.
And someone with 300 grand or $2 million can easily afford a $5,000.
They can afford a $5,000 fee, right? And it might be less depending on.
It feels cleaner
things.
too, in a way, where it's like the fee is not baked into assets under management, whatever they're managing.
Now we do that as well. So if we go through our fee process and then at the end of that we become their asset advisor, then we can actually refund them some of the money. Now this is rare too. All of our regulation starts in the state of Washington, because that's where we started. We're the first firm in the state of Washington to have a money back guarantee on our planning fee.
A money back guarantee on your planning fee.
Now, you're familiar with the investing world, so anything that says guarantee or money back sounds dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So it's not on investment performance. It can never be on investment performance.
Of course.
It's on we said we'd produce some results from you in our planning process, get you some education, get you a better situation. And if you don't think that happened, then first 6 months, you can, for whatever reason, ask for that money back.
Wow.
Because it is a new kind of relationship for clients too. So we want to make it easy for them to enter into that with, some kind of safety net for getting what they wanted out of it.
Yep.
And when we brought it to the regulators of the state of Washington, they were happy. They were like, oh, this sounds great for the consumer. We love this. And so we're like, great. Let's do it.
That approved.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then if we manage their assets, that also generates the fee. It could be 1%, something, whatever that might be based on the account size.
Yep.
And we can refund part of their initial check that they wrote us based on the fact that there's some overlap in the work that we need to do if all we were doing was investing their money to get to know them, to get right. So we didn't want to double charge anybody, but we wanted people to know that they didn't have to feel like sometimes folks will go through a process with an advisor that doesn't charge anything on the front end. They have 3, 4, 5 meetings. The more meetings they have, the more indebted they feel like.
Totally.
I've got to do so. I owe this person. And we didn't want to create that. Like we wanted people to
even Steven from the beginning.
Yeah, even Steven. We've had clients who also have advisors with Morgan Stanley, because we might not be managing the money every time. They might be paying us to be the third party coming in to double check the work of their other advisor. And so we've made some recommendations that have conflicted with things that their other advisors said. But we're able to say, like, look, if you do this, we might make some more money, but you've already paid us for our time. So I'm not saying that we wouldn't like to earn more, but we're not sitting here feeling like you're going to cost us time if we don't get this done.
Yep.
Like, you've already paid us.
You don't owe us anything. Right. No
Whereas
indebtedness.
if you don't do it, he says that it's pure negative.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So let's jump into if someone was listening.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, well, fucking help me make money.
Sure.
Help me. I'm earning income. Help me make money. What is it about what you guys do that helps your clients make more money than they otherwise would with a Morgan Stanley or with some other financial advisor? Is there? We've kind of talked about it actually. Do you feel like there's a possibility of that, or is there some other advantage that you offer that may not be necessarily financial?
Sure. Well, there's a couple. I think we've chatted a little bit about contentment, and that's something I think we could get back to, because
you brought up like something about how you guys focus on cultivating contentment. And I was like, what? That I've never really heard that out of a financial advisor's mouth.
It's not like it's going to show up in our literature all over the place. It's not the theme of our lives, but
it should, because it sounds like a pretty good buzzword.
Maybe it will be now. Well, by next week it'll be all over our website. So again, like I said, a lot of people think, how much should I have in stocks and bonds, and what funds should I buy? Like, that's 90% of what financial advisors do. But you got to get money to those accounts in the first place. So your lifestyle is as much about that equation. Like your outflow is as much about that as your income. Yes, you need to have enough income to even have a starting point of having something to work with. But one of our other advisor, Jeff Miller, who was one of our clients first, didn't have to work anymore and didn't know what he wanted to do. And Paul was like, well,
come work with us.
Come work with us.
Oh, shit.
His grandfather always used to tell him, like, I don't care how much you made, show me how much you saved. And lifestyle, we talked about Madison Avenue earlier, like lifestyle, consumption, always getting the new thing, like
spend.
If you're not saving enough money, I don't care what rate of return you get, it's not going to be a percentage on a big enough number to start to compound and make any kind of difference.
Correct. You haven't saved enough.
Right.
I don't care if you get 20, 30, 40% a year on $1,000. That ain't shit.
Yeah. And so the market, I can't tell you what the market's going to do next year. Anyone who says that they can is either lying or misinformed.
Yep.
But you can control 100% the choices you make related to how much of your money you spend now versus what you set aside.
Agreed.
Now, if a family's living on not a lot, like if they're close to the poverty line, if they're, one income, 10 people in the family.
Exactly. 50 grand a year.
Maybe they don't have a lot of
6 or
of
something.
choice.
Right. That's not, those aren't necessarily, that family should try and put something aside for sure.
100%.
It may not be in the world of, in that time of their lives, it may not be in the world of investment advisory.
Correct.
Designing. You could possibly help them design a life, though, where they are more financially secure than they otherwise would be if they didn't talk to you.
Completely. Well, because that's some other pieces of the equation, like protection, preserving what you already have is also really important. So like really early in our process with clients, we ask to see their car insurance. And I can't tell you how many clients that have loads of money and loads of assets have the same exact car insurance that they did in college when they got it for the first time.
Dude, that's totally me. And by the way, I don't know what's been happening with State Farm. They just sent me a notice saying we're not going to insure you anymore for your Jeep Wrangler beginning in February or March. I'm like, I got to find new insurance. And part of me is like, my mom and my brother, like my whole family is kind of on a shared policy thing. Okay. And so we've had like a run of issues with cars and broken windshields and bumper dented.
Yes.
And they're like, oh yeah, you guys have had too many things, so we're kicking you off your insurance. We're like, what?
That'll happen.
You know what? F you. Like, we don't want you if you're going to kick us off. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, I'm going to shop for car insurance. Part of me is like, yo, I think I'm going to find way cheaper insurance because I've been on the same plan for so long. And I'm sure like they're not going to lower it if they don't need to lower it.
I actually kind of like State Farm. I just switched to them actually.
Yeah. By the way, they've been very good. I had a good experience.
Yeah. So, but even more important than the car insurance, I mean, there's some things to change there to keep up with where families have grown. But umbrella insurance is this huge thing that doesn't get talked about a lot. So you picture is your State Farm agent ever talked to you about umbrella insurance?
No, but we have umbrella insurance on this restaurant.
Great. So it's like business liability insurance, but for
Correct.
your personal. So for listeners at home, picture your car in your house with this giant umbrella going over the top of it. It picks up where your other coverages leave off. So if you have like $300,000 liability on your car and you get an accident and you have $1 million umbrella, then you really have
$700,000 more.
You have 1.3 million.
Oh,
yeah, it's like $1 million over and above.
No shit.
And it's not just car insurance. If you go on vacation in Mexico, car insurance doesn't cover you there because car accidents in Mexico are filed as criminal code, and car insurance only covers you in civil matters. If you commit a crime, it doesn't cover you.
I didn't know that. So my credit card insurance, does that cover me?
I don't know for sure on that one.
But car, you're saying my State Farm probably wouldn't cover me.
But umbrella insurance follows you most places you go in the world. So if you hit someone with a jet ski when you're on vacation in Mexico, your umbrella does help you out. And umbrella insurance is incredibly cheap. Like for most people, $1 million umbrella is like $300 or $400 a year.
What?
So car insurance agents don't make a lot of money on it, and like auto agency offices get these big bonuses based on profitability of their office each year. And you can imagine if you have a couple $1 million claims, that starts to change those profit ratios. So it's not your agent's fault.
It's not their favorite thing to sell.
Just their company and their industry just kind of disincentivized. But it's one of the most valuable or value proposition kind of products for consumers.
Okay, so I think
we talk about that every time because that's going to hit you before retirement. Like, are you going to
hit you before retirement?
Well, what's your probability of retiring tomorrow?
Very low.
Me too. About zero, maybe zero, right? Is the probability higher or lower than zero? We don't know what it is exactly, but higher or lower than zero that a car accident could happen.
I got you.
And right,
so that's going to happen before I retire. So that you're saying that's pretty damn important.
Worry in order.
Worry in order. I like that. So, all right. So you're saying when I asked you, hey, how can you help, your clients make money, in smarter, more powerful ways than a Morgan Stanley? You're saying, because we're set up as a kind of a design firm fee. We're not incentivized to just focus on stocks and bonds and all that shit.
Right. We do amazing things with those.
Yeah.
But there's some other things to do first.
Right.
To make the impact.
Worry in order.
Yeah.
And you're saying, for example, umbrella insurance and car insurance. For example, that's a great example. I see what you're saying now. Okay, cool. I like that. And then you talked about cultivating contentment.
Sure.
When I brought up, hey, can you help them make more money? And so I can actually see how if you can truly, authentically help a person cultivate more contentment, which God knows John and I need, that will actually, as a more content person, probably help me make more money in other parts of my life.
Completely. It's not about not dreaming big. Like we have clients with very high incomes that are out to do some really amazing things, but like Carlos Golson, he wasn't content and he kept chasing something that had him start to develop some different behaviors, like do some things that ruined it
shit.
all. Yeah. So like the first question we'll ask some clients is like, what do you want? What are you after? Where do you want this to end? Because that really dictates the lengths to which they need to go and the choices they need to make. I had a client looking at buying a big or building another building for themselves and be able to expand and have all these opportunities.
Wait, from a business perspective, they build another building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They own a successful business already, and they had an opportunity to stop renting a facility, build one instead. And I said, well, you're feeling kind of stressed out, and I think it's because you feel like you're serving this project. The project isn't serving you.
Yeah,
so
like the project is driving your life.
Yeah, so let's just get clear on why you're doing it, and the reason why they're doing it is to create more opportunity, and they needed to come back to that.
It's a little bit of a life coachy kind of
And
approach.
I hate those words, but sure, like because when I hear life coach, like to me that means someone who lives in their parents' basement and is trying to tell me how to live my life. There are some great life coaches out there, but it's just like everyone has a podcast nowadays, like you and me both. But everyone could be a life coach. There are some great coaches. I have multiple coaches and have worked with multiple coaches over time. Just the life coaching.
I'm with you.
I
get that.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm the same way as you. Whether it's a financial coach or a career coach or other, I have a spiritual coach. A spiritual guide. Those are all really important things to me, and I value those and I benefit from those. And I hear you on the life coach thing. How has a negative energy to it? But I mean, but what I'm saying is like, you're indirectly helping people make more money by almost like putting them on the spot a little bit and being like, help me understand what you're after here, and I will help you think about it financially more wisely, and maybe set your goal or reset your goal so that it's more in line with life happiness.
Well, because it's not about making more money. It's about making the right amount of money in the right way.
I think most people would disagree with you on that.
So, well, here's what I mean. I have clients who are recently retired, and they actually, with the different things they put together, they have got plenty of income. They're actually still saving money. Like they're still adding money to their balance sheet as retirees.
From what? Social
Like
Security?
Their pension and Social Security is more than they need to live off
investment
of.
income?
Well, like they have all these income streams that are more than they need, more than they're spending, so they can just keep adding more. So that's an inflation hedge to beat all inflation hedges, right? Yeah. So they have some extra money, and we're talking about risk and and so they don't want to earn the maximum amount of money they can on that money because they're already satisfied.
Right.
They don't. So it could go either way. Someone in the same situation could say, well, since I don't need the money, let's let it ride. They might go that way.
Let's buy a whole bunch of Facebook.
Right. But these clients, they kind of think of it like earning the right to be conservative. They're like, we don't need to ride that wave. We don't need.
Why be under all that stress?
Why be under all that stress? Because it would be stressful to them. So that's what I mean about it's not just making more, it's making the right amount. Because if you already have everything you need, then do you want to risk it? Some people do, some people don't. But see, that's where we're finding that right equation for each client.
So here's a thought that's triggering in my mind. I've been going through this debate in my mind. So I was quite conservative with money in my 20s. I worked at JP Morgan, had some good years, hit some pretty strong bonuses, saved it up, invested it, all right, and had a very strong personal balance sheet. I was like, yo, I've got a lot of savings. I'm going to take some risk with my life, change my career up. I did. I'm now in the world of entertainment.
Yeah.
Then I got married and had 2 kids, and I just started spending those savings like it was going out of style. I'm doing that right now as we speak, and it freaks me out each month as I sell stocks and
watch it go down,
fund my life.
Down. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it sucks that it's going down, down, down. And that's stressing me out. But at the same time, I love that I'm supporting my family and we're living off of it.
It's a beautiful thing that you have the resource to do it. It's there. Like it's doing its job.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm not fully content. The fact that it's going down, I'm not making income right now. I'm trying to figure out that part. I'm like stressed about it. But the truth is, when I was building up and had my strong ass balance sheet, my life was a mess too. My personal life. So I was like, I think I'm setting up my life in a way for no contentment by relying on my balance sheet for contentment. It seems that's what is happening with me. And so I guess I think of all that when you're speaking because I'm like, man, Corey, could you really help me find contentment? Could I really figure that out? Wouldn't a lot of people agree with me that like, yo, fine, I don't have savings, but the 50 grand or 100 grand I make a year, I spend it on me and my family. That's great. What do you want me to do? Like it sucks. I don't have savings for a rainy day. I'm not building an investment portfolio, but hey, this is life. I might die tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. I think I'm content.
Well, I can't give anyone any goals that they don't already have. And that's certainly a way to live life, but reality will call their bluff. And what I mean is they might be content now, but if they're not, like we all will face a winter of our lives where whether we want to or not, we won't be able to earn the income that we want.
I'm in it right now, brother.
Well, and
winter is not coming in Game of Thrones here,
it's
baby.
Here now.
Winter is here. Well, I'm in season 8.
Like the salesperson, the guy who's in sales and says, like, I love my job. I'm going to do it till I'm 70. I don't care. I don't need to retire. And I say, well, look around, and do you see a lot of people who are 70 doing what you're doing?
Software?
Yeah, right. The answer is no. So the marketplace makes a choice and does not value their offer as much anymore. That's the winter of our lives that I mean.
Meaning, like when you get into your 60s and 70s, you're saying like
you might have a choice.
You may not be able to get hired because you're obsolete as a human being.
In whatever job you were in, they're gonna like you're not obsolete as a human being. Like you're very bad, right? But you're in that market
at some level.
At some level. And so that person who's saying, I'm making $150, I'm not saving any of it, but I'm living a good life. Well, for how long? That's they won't have a choice to continue that.
So you have short-term contentment.
Short-term contentment.
But we need to distinguish now short-term contentment from a deeper, longer-term contentment.
Right. Well, think of, the doomsday prepper folks that are like,
yeah.
Right.
I got my cave out in Montana.
Yeah, we're
I've
got
be off 70 cans of tuna down there and gas masks and shit.
They're, I don't know how much money they're actually saving too.
They're probably all flat earthers too.
They probably are flat. Yeah, that's right. I can't see past it, right? It's just all flat. They seem like they're spending all of their money getting ready for this thing that has like a 1/10% chance of happening. Yet, like if they're 40 and healthy, they've got, I don't know, nearly 100% chance of living till they're 65. And so they're going to have to replace their income at some point. They're not prepping for that.
Right. I see what you're saying.
But it's coming.
Right.
Like, whether you want it or not. So that's what I mean. Reality is going to
long-term
call
contentment.
their bluff.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. And so what you're saying is, given how you're set up, you're not focusing 100% of your energy on, oh, let's buy this stock and let's sell this bond. And
No.
You're actually spending much less time on that. And you're spending more time on communicating with the client about their goals, how they can achieve those goals, what's in their way, about contentment, what's legit contentment, authentic contentment, false contentment. Are they thinking about, hey, is reality going to call your bluff? It sounds to me like, yeah, you're bringing in other dimensions that I would guess a lot of financial advisors don't.
That then make the process of figuring out what kind of mix of stocks and bonds they should buy that much more valuable and effective for
more
them
accurate
when we get there.
Right.
So, and you know, these are all really important things that I don't want to step over the fact that we do some great academic-based work in helping folks create the kind of portfolio that needs to be there for them if we get to that point. But there's a lot of other help that is missing first to make that really, really worthwhile.
Resonates, man.
And
that resonates, brother. Go ahead.
And well, you know, I think we had talked about the fiduciary standard.
Yeah, that's what, like, I used to use that language. I used to have to use that language with my clients a lot at JP Morgan.
Totally.
And they're like, oh, I'd love to give you this business armor, but I have a fiduciary duty to go with the lowest price. And so I understood fiduciary duty as like, oh, this is a good thing. The banker or the financial advisor is looking out for the best interest of those assets.
Right. And it is a beautiful thing. It is the way that an advisor and a client should have a relationship.
And when you say fiduciary duty, is that a law, like a regulation?
Yeah, there's a fiduciary standard. There's the regulations have been different kinds of standards. There's one called suitability standard that just means it has to be like a fit for someone in that kind of situation. As a registered investment advisor, we do operate by law under the fiduciary standard, which is we have to look out for the best interest of our client, which is a stronger legal bond. But this, you know, compensation is part of what the fiduciary standard is all about. A lot of advisors might say, well, I'm a fiduciary and I'm unbiased because I just get paid this 1% fee on assets every year. Well, I don't know. You could call it a 1% commission that happens every single year, and I don't really see a difference. So it's not like people are getting paid and advisors are going to get paid. So that's okay as long as the client is getting the value that they need. I think that's fine, right? Like as a consumer. And so just calling yourself a fiduciary isn't enough. Like you mentioned having a lot of trouble with insurance and getting insurances taken care of. Like I've talked to advisors that say they're a fiduciary, but they're working with doctors and won't talk to them about disability insurance because it's hard to work with and they don't want to have the conversation and it's hard to qualify for.
To a doctor, that's hugely important.
It's hugely
important. They rely
important.
on their eyes, their hands, all that stuff. And if something were to go bad.
They just came out of training with $300,000 of debt. Their ability to earn an income is the single greatest asset that they have on their balance sheet. If you look at the net present value. So it's like the only thing to talk to them about if you haven't talked about it. So that doesn't sound like a fiduciary.
Worry in the right order.
Worry in the right order.
Totally, that's good. I like that. Worry in the right order.
So
it's prioritizing.
Clients need to be their own fiduciaries, which is why when
they use a regular financial advisor,
any financial advisor,
that's true.
Even one that
but sometimes they don't know.
They don't know
what order to worry or about disability insurance or whatever. And I guess what you're saying is like, yo, we call the fiduciary duty bluff sometimes. And we're like, yeah, are you really looking out for this doctor? Did you talk to him about disability? No, you didn't. That's like the first thing we talk about.
The first thing you should talk to a doctor about. Make sure they get handled.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I see that. That's cool. I like that. And I like that, you know, you're talking about going back to me for a minute, or just anyone with contentment and the difference between short-term contentment versus deeper, longer-term contentment is like, if I am thinking my contentment has a lot to do with spending all my money and getting that short-term contentment, I mean, in my case, I tried to build a really strong balance sheet.
Which sounds like you did, because you're now being able to rely on it.
Probably for security reasons and maybe to do some more independent things. But the truth is, I think I banked my contentment on that strong balance sheet. And as it started to go down, I'm noticing myself, dude, I'm less content. And so I'm the whole, my net worth is my self-worth. And then as it's going down, I'm spending it, trying to do it courageously, but I got to tell you, I feel like my pants are down.
Right.
I'm like, shit, all the time, And I'm like, what am I doing? And so I'm noticing like my contentment is wobbly with my balance sheet, how much I got saved up, my net worth. And so I kind of can't find myself out of this puzzle. I feel like, or maze. I feel like I've painted myself in some kind of a corner where my contentment is so hooked into that, And so I like what you're talking about with regards to goals and like, hey man, I think the way to get out of this painted corner you're in is to, reflect on your goals and what you want and how to make that happen. And then you'll be less tied to your balance sheet.
Yeah. Well, so Carlos Golson was not content, we think, with this amazing, huge amount of money that you have. So obviously we can see some evidence that for at least some people, there's more money is not actually the solution to contentment. So I think contentment has to come from within. It can't be about any external force. Because if you say, I have this thing, therefore I'm content, the world's going to mess with that thing. It's going to go away at some point, and then you're not going to be content. Now you can be not satisfied with, like, I think there's the benevolent power of discontent as well, meaning
the beneficial power of
discontent, meaning you're rightly so. If you're seeing like you're spending more money than you want, like assets are being sold, you're going in a different overall direction than you want. It's a good thing that there's something in you reacting to that.
Okay.
Because now you're going to go step up to the plate, put in a new menu, turn this restaurant, make something happen. Right?
I like that. So you're saying, okay,
Cedar's Restaurant.
Yeah, there you go, baby.
Right.
So you're saying, hey, don't shit all over the discontentment you have now.
Like listen to it. Listen to what it's telling you.
Yeah.
About what you want to do differently.
It may change your behavior.
Right.
Like you want to make more income.
Right. But you can be unhappy with what's happening in your balance sheet and still be content with your life at the same time. Like that's some like Zen crazy. Like I can't necessarily explain how to do that right now, but that is possible.
I wonder about that because I did point out early in this podcast. I'm like, yo, I am blessed. My wife, my children,
right?
My mom, my brother. I'm so lucky. I'm super lucky. I got amazing human beings. Fucking John Dolder. Look at this guy.
Got Dolder in the house.
I got Dolder. Like this dude supports the shit out of me. Chris, a lot of good people in my life. I'm blessed. So I often reflect on. I'm like, damn, I'm lucky. And then at the same time, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with my balance sheet? Why am I spending all this money? I need money. And so you're saying, hey man, maybe both those things are actually existing in the same world right now inside your heart.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shit, maybe they are.
And your heart's illuminating to you an area that you want to take some steps to start changing. Now, that's the kind of philosophical side.
Yeah.
The practical technique that we have to help solve that is distinction of sufficiency and surplus.
Distinction of sufficiency and surplus. Sufficiency is I got enough.
Sufficiency
surplus is you got extra.
Is that'll do. It's the minimum level of an acceptable lifestyle for you. So it's not everything you want in the world, but you think to yourself, that'll do.
Right.
That's sufficiency.
Right.
So surplus is everything over and above. So remember those clients that are retired, they've got sufficiency nailed.
Right.
This other money is kind of surplus. So they're like, well, whatever. I don't need to go crazy with it. But they know what sufficiency is. That's their level of contentment. So anything in between those is winning.
Yeah.
And
I get that. Financially.
Right.
And then that feeds into their contentment potentially based on their life choices and the goals they set and what they want to do with that money. Cool, man. Let's wrap up here. But I like how I've talked about the subject on this podcast before, but I feel like you've thought about this in depth more, and it seems like you put it into practice with your clients quite a bit because you're talking about it at a level that's quite powerful and has helped me, frankly.
Well, I'm very glad. This is what we do. We just sit in the background and think about all these things that we can help folks, because everyone's lives are busy. They're thinking about 110,000 other things, their family. So what can we bring in as narratives to help kind of put those guardrails on our heart and on our brains to make the things happen that we want to have happen?
Beautiful. All right, Corey, where can people learn more about Sound Financial Group? Obviously, your podcast, Your Business, Your Wealth. That sounds pretty cool.
Your Wealth, at Wealth Podcast on the IG.
Yep.
Instagram for everybody who's older than me that's listening. Sound Financial Group is SFG, sfgway.com. It's our website, our blog, all of our podcasts, but search on iTunes, Stitcher, everywhere, Spotify that you have a podcast, you can find us there.
Love how you guys are killing it.
Yeah. We got links on our site in the podcast. If someone wants to have a 15-minute call to like chew on something, they can schedule that.
Is that complimentary?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we care about our listeners and now yours. So
boom,
I'll extend that.
sfgway.com. Y'all get a free complimentary session with Corey. I would totally do it, man, because you know what you're talking about, brother.
Well, thank you very much.
Cool. We got another one in the bag, Dolder.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, baby.
Hell yeah.
It got kind of weird in the middle
It
there.
did. I wanted to put a camera strictly on Corey just for all the weird faces you were making.
Oh, they make a weird face?
Oh,
yeah.
When I started talking about Yohimbe and big penises.
Yeah, when we were talking about our hard dicks. Like, it's...
This is a different world for me. We
often make our guests uncomfortable, which is good.
Yeah.
We do a good job.
Oh, yeah. Pound it.
Thank you, Corey.
My pleasure.
Thank you, John.
This is
no
fun.
problem.
Peace out, y'all.
Peace.